G'day everybody, my name is Elliot Waters and you're listening to the Dysregulated podcast. As always, thank you for tuning in. So just a quick little check-in to see how things are going. And the topic of today's episode certainly is anxiety. Anxiety, fear, caused by, I'm pretty sure, it's a bit hard to tell with these things, but the withdrawals from the lamotrigine. So you might remember when I went from 200 straight down to 100 and cold turkey the day or two after that and thought, oh yeah, she's right, I'll be fine. I got a lot of physical symptoms, the brain zaps and going down my arms and legs and, stuff like that. But this time, or at the moment, there's no brain zaps to report, but there is so much anxiety. And I cannot think of any other reason as to why there would be so much. It has to be the withdrawals from these medications, which is torture. Because make no mistake, I am petrified. So I've been able to push past it, which is great, and get to the uni. I'm at the University of Newcastle right now recording, which is brilliant. The only way I've been able to do it, though, is drinking copious amounts of kava. So I really hope there's no sort of overdose level because, man, I'd have to be getting close. But at the same time, it's sort of the only option I've got. So it's very, very difficult indeed to try and keep, staying productive and doing things that feed into one's meaning and purpose and, makes things, everyone happy and engaged. But it's hard to do that when the anxiety takes hold because the anxiety, for me at least, just wants me to lay in bed and freeze. Some people go in a fight, some people go in a flight, I go in a freeze and I just shut down. But I'll give myself credit. I got to uni today and it's those little wins that mean everything. But yeah, really, it's only today. Yesterday was all right. So last night was when I dropped the dosage from 100 to 50, which was pretty steep because I can't count. So if you might remember, my proper dosage is 200 milligrams. Then I jumped straight down to 100, got all the brain zaps, and it was really difficult. Had one day where I went back to 200 just to try and mitigate those brain zaps. And then I was at 150. So I've actually jumped from, and I didn't do this on purpose, 150 to 50 because I'm just not organised and can't count. So anyway, that could be part of what's going on. But what's interesting is that this isn't really physical. I'm doing remember I said about the lateral eye movements, looking left to right and how that can induce some of these brain zaps. Well, I'm doing it now. It's hard to do two things at once when you're a bloke. I'm doing it now and there's no brain zaps to report, which is good. So, okay. The physical side of things is all right. So that's good news. But the psychological side, which wasn't a problem before, it's now a problem. But it's a very general problem. If someone was to ask me right now, Elliot, what have you been anxious about today? What's the problem? I wouldn't be able to come up with anything because it's this general feeling that just, this fog, this cloud that just descends and covers you and everything that you do and everything you think, and it's got that anxious twinge to it. I don't know, does that make sense? But there's definitely no real specific subject that I'm stressing up. There's a few things that would be swirling around in my subconscious. I need to be applying for jobs and I need to get my car serviced, which is going to cost lots of money. And, just there's those sorts of stresses, definitely. But at the same time, this anxiety today, it hasn't been because of any of those things, not specifically anyway. So very unusual, very weird, and I can only put it down to the withdrawals. It has to be. But yes, very, very much now a psychological battle. And the battle is on all fronts because this anxiety isn't honing in on a specific subject. It's trying to hone in on everything. And don't you just love that? What else is news? Well, there's not heaps more to report. As I said, I'm trying to apply for jobs, but the anxiety's getting in the way, and there's anxiety that comes with that anyway. But this just makes it worse, what's going on at the moment. But pretty happy to think that soon, hopefully, the lamotrigine will be gone. And then I don't know how to do it after that, though. Give it a bit, have a look, and then maybe look at the next medication to withdraw from. I'm not sure. It's going to be, I don't know, lots of thinking. There's a lot of things I just need to sort of, I don't know, my room's a mess, my car's okay, but that could change at any moment. There's a bit going on, but at the same time, there's not much going on as well, which is, I don't know, it's a weird feeling. I don't particularly like it because I don't feel like I'm, pursuing things that are in keeping with my meaning and purpose, although doing this episode today, I would say definitely is. But at the same time, I should be looking for jobs that I can get with my degree that I would be comfortable and confident with, and then show, the workforce what sort of talents I supposedly have. So, I don't know. I need to get on with it. I need to stop sort of pushing those tasks aside and, I'll do it later, because it starts to take a mental toll. And even if it's not conscious, it's definitely swirling around in the subconscious. There's no question about that. So I need to get on top of that. What else is news? I'm going to start a new segment on the show, which is going to be called Q&A Fridays, unless I come up with a better name. So there's the opportunity. It's an opportunity for you guys, my faithful listeners, to send me a message on Instagram or whatever, and I will answer the question with all the experience, knowledge that I have. So it can be a question about me and my story, can be a question about psychology more broadly. There's already someone's written in, just in case no one writes in. Elliot Waters, very similar name, great person, great chick. Anyway, she's written in with some questions, so it'd be great to also get some from you guys too. So there you go, Q&A Fridays. We'll see if it takes off, but I'll answer just about anything. You can ask questions about me, my personal life, I don't care, I'll tell you. So we'll see how we go. Trying to think, anything else to report? Not really. Everything's sort of slowed up a little bit on the my work I do at the university has slowed up a bit. Lots of Black Dog stuff coming up, actually, and I need to put this in my Google Calendar that I'm still too scared to use properly. Great episode on that, by the way, if you want to go back and listen. But more pilots of this, of the Black Dog presentations, the rejigged Black Dog presentation, which is pretty cool. So there's a couple of them coming up, and I've been asked to be involved, which is a great honour. Will I get very, very, very nervous about it? Yes, I will. But anyway, you got to push through. Thank God for Carver. That's all I'm saying. Nature's Valium. So Black Dog, there's a bit going with Black Dog. Every Mind got the Mind Frame meeting on, I think it's Tuesday. So there's plenty going on there as well. The university stuff has slowed up a little bit, but that's fine. That's probably a good thing at the moment. And yeah, I did the presentation at the Food and Nutrition Expo for the Hunter Medical Research Institute, and I've got a recording of that as well. So I'm looking at putting that on so you guys can hear. I haven't listened to it because I cannot stand the idea of listening to me talking back, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it up there, which will be good. And I've also dug out audio recording of the lived experience, what would call it? Acknowledgement. That's it. Acknowledgement of lived experience. I did it at the Suicide Prevention Expo late last year. I found the audio for that. So when I get the confidence, I will post that as well. So there's a bit coming. And I promise the intake interview series, which is where I'm going to interview some of you amazing listeners, because you all have amazing, unique stories and experiences, and I really want to find out what's going on and sort of capture the lessons and the learnings, and brilliant. absolutely brilliant. So the Intake interview series now has a name, which I just said. It is coming. I promise it is coming, and it's going to be coming in a big way. So watch out for that one. That's probably it for me. I'm here at the university trying not to talk too loud because there's sort of people hanging around. It's good though. Remember, for those listeners from the start, who I love so much, thank you so much. But the listeners from the start might remember I did a few episodes when I lived at that monastery place, that one room in this like room 32. It was like a jail. Well, it was like a mental asylum, really. I'm still not sure if I was actually admitted there or not, and I wasn't told. But anyway, I used to get very concerned about people potentially walking past and listening in. And I used to try and do these potty episodes all day, and I'd hear footsteps, creaking of the floorboards or something, and I'd just stop and delete it instantly. And then I used to, you may also remember, do a lot of recordings in my car because I was away from people. So at the start, I was very nervous about people hearing me speak, which is funny because that's sort of what a podcast is all about. But here I am at the University of Newcastle. I'm in a meeting room, but at the same time, there's people walking past and I'm still yapping. So go me, because that actually is a great indication that there have been some great advances made as far as the social anxiety component is concerned, which is really good. So, go me. This is great. And if you're listening out there on the other side of the door, stop listening and just listen to the podcast so I get those downloads. Thank you. All right. That will do. That will do for me. Thank you very much for listening. As always, I'm going to drink some kava and do some box breathing. That's something I've actually been doing, is I've been doing a bit of box breathing and, trying to do the right things. It's not just about substances. So I need to get into the meditations more. I don't know. I really got to do it. But I've done some breathing exercises, got the kava going. It's all pretty natural sort of stuff, which is great. So, because I'll tell you, I'll be completely honest, if there was no kava for me to drink, I would definitely be sourcing benzodiazepines somewhere. And, that's not a good thing because benzos are very dangerous. Coming soon actually is, so I'm going through withdrawals at the moment of medications, but these withdrawals are nothing compared to what it was like withdrawing from lorazepam, the benzodiazepine. So I'm going to, when I can, I'm going to do an episode on that because it was hell. But in saying that, thank God for kava, because this isn't a joke. This isn't a game. When I say I'm afraid and petrified, I'm being serious. When my anxiety is peaking and it pushes me into freeze zone, I'm not saying this for, added effect. Like, this is the truth. And anxiety, if I let it, sometimes I don't have a choice, has one hell of a hold on me. There's no two ways about it. It's always been there, and it probably always will be there. But kava, nature's Valium, actually does help. Legitimately, it helps, and it's great because if I wasn't able to have the kava and I was trying to do this without anything, I'd be in bed right now under all the covers and I would be absolutely petrified. And I can't do that because if I'm sorry, I'm just moving my chair. If I'm in bed under the covers, I'm not pursuing the goals and objectives that I've set, which are in line with my meaning and purpose. Now, I know that's a big sort of holy geez, we went really, the scope just went really wide then, but that's what I think. So it's not just that I'm anxious about everything as a general idea. When I'm under those covers, I'm thinking we aren't doing what we should be doing. And then the depression hits and then I spiral and it all goes from there and it's horrendous. So, I'm desperate in these moments to get some sort of relief, and the kava has produced that. The box breathing has produced it as well. And that's really good because I know what it's like if those two mechanisms, if I didn't use those two mechanisms, I know how bad it can get, and I can't do that. I can't do a big meltdown again. It's just too hard. It's too hard. So, and that's why if there was no kava, I'd have to do whatever it takes to get something that would provide relief. That's just the reality of it. It sucks. This anxiety is torture. But anyway, it's part of the process. I knew this tapering process was going to be difficult, and it's proving to be, that's for sure. But, I still think the rewards are there at the end. Being able to remember things would be awesome. How good would that be instead of repeating stories to people all the time? And, oh, man. So that'd be great. So the rewards are there, but it's going to be a tough few weeks, probably a tough few months, to be honest. And it's been a tough few weeks so far, but we push on. I push on, never give in, never give up. Nah, we got this. We got this. All right, thank you everybody for listening. If you want to reach out to me, you can do so. If you want to send through a question for the Q&A Fridays thing that I've just decided, spur of the moment, that we're going to do, you can follow me on Instagram at elliot.t.waters, and you can send me a message there. Other than that, you can like, subscribe, and give the show a 5-star rating, which is great for the algorithm. I would greatly appreciate that. And you can share the show around with your mates. And as I said, you can follow me on Instagram as well. All right, thank you everybody. Have a good one, and I'm going to have some kava and just do some breathing exercises and just chill. All right, thank you guys. Have a good one. See ya.